Here's Tis Happy, a son of Run Happy, going up. We're in the gate. And they're off. Very clean start. Tis Happy, very quick. So is Dr. Ruben M. These two match strides through the opening furlong. El Ondeado is in third. Pavel Zetois fourth, 3 lengths off. Dr. Ruben M., who's now the clear-cut leader. Panuco is fifth, 6 lengths off the lead. It's a gap of 4 to Snowdonia, and Watch the Law at the back. Dr. Ruben M. into the far turn. Leads a length and a half to Tis Happy, who closes in a half length behind now. Pavel Zetois takes third on the outside of El Ondeado. Then Panuco. Snowdonia is next. 8 lengths off the battle up top. And another 3 to Watch the Law there at the top of the stretch. Dr. Ruben M. getting a big test from Tis Happy. They pass the 8th pole together. Dr. Ruben M. digs in. Tis Happy on the outside. 4 back to Pavel Zetois. 16th to go. Dr. Ruben M. and Tis Happy. Tis Happy on the outside. Dr. Ruben M. Tis Happy. Dr. Ruben M. Tis Happy. A nose to Dr. Ruben M. Pavel Zetois was third. El Ondeado fourth. Photo for fifth involves Snowdonia. It's a Doug O'Neill exacta in the open.
Nice stuff from Frank. Hello and welcome to Season 5 of Horseplayer Happy Hour. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatale, back with you alongside a man who was here on the very first Horseplayer Happy Hours we did. Do you remember those days back in 2020? I'm referring, of course, to Jonathon Kinchen. What's going on, JK?
Yeah, I was locked in my house, ordering IPAs and wiping them down with Lysol wipes before I attacked them. Just looking for anything to do. It was a great idea. I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad we can all go outside now. How about that?
Yeah, it's a little bit better. Michael Domable is back. He had a tremendous season last year, and he says his Thursdays have purpose again. Love to hear from you, Michael. Maybe we'll even pull you on here at some point in the show. You can remind folks of some of the achievements that you had. It looks like you're taking Horseplayer Happy Hour seriously. I am drinking a flavored seltzer that doesn't sponsor us, so I'm not giving the plug. You see, these are the things that we've learned now by year number 5. But I hit it really hard last weekend. Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. We'll talk more about that.
I didn't hit that hard. Everyone in my life is sick. My wife's been exhausted because she was getting after it. Everyone around me is exhausted. I didn't do anything. I did a little, but not really. I was getting.
I had that going on, and then almost more importantly, it was just it's what's coming up on Sunday. I go to Ascot for a week, so I need to absolutely. Sorry if you can hear. Can you hear Frank coming through? I don't know if you can hear that when.
No, we're good. I can hear.
Okay, I'm producing myself today, so that's a bit of that's a mixed bag. We're gonna work on that. Okay, you can hear me now, JK?
Yeah.
Good.
I try to mute his screen audio too. I think that might have helped, but I didn't hear anything.
Good. So no, we're in great shape. But it's going to be a big week of nonsense next weekend. So. Next week. So anyway, thus the seltzer as the season goes on. Next week, from potentially live from Ascot, I will be having consumed many alcoholic beverages by now. But we're gonna teetotal it today. Good to see so many people popping up here in the comments live. We've got Alex here, Tom, who's a big supporter of ours here, and over at the YouTube channel. We've got a nice crowd joining us already. We expect that to grow. So we're here for Horseplayer Happy Hour. Oh, yeah, let us know where you are in the comments. That's always fun to see. Sheila, good to see you watching us from West Virginia, a racing state. Great to see everybody chopping in. Oh, here's Rob, who we got to hang out with in Saratoga a little bit. I'm going to guess he has a beer. Nathan has been a big supporter. Shout out to everybody. We'll get to lots of comments. We don't really have a program for today other than we're following along with this contest, so feel free to ask us questions. One of the great things about these Horseplayer Happy Hour live streams is the fact that we can be so interactive. JK is going to stick with us for the first hour, and then we're going to have Matt Miller joining us in the second hour. We're going to talk to him a little bit. I had an idea to talk about some of the outtakes from his book, but also what's going to be really fun, and you might want to stick around for this. So this book that Matt Miller wrote, A Better Way of Thinking, it's for anybody who ever said, I'm a great handicapper or a good handicapper, but a terrible bettor. Matt takes the opposite approach where handicapping, I don't want to say it's an afterthought for him. That would be slight hyperbole, but he's all about betting. And one of the things he loves it if you just tell him your opinion in a race, and then he can help you craft a wager to bet it. So we're gonna try to do as much as that. Hello to you, Kevin, out there as well in the
do you
know
world.
Who the most
you know who the most famous person is from Stockton, California?
Stockton, California. It's so familiar, but I'm not coming up with it. Is it a boxer?
The UFC fighter Nate Diaz.
Oh, very nice.
The one that beat Conor McGregor. Anyway, sorry.
Yes. Very good. We love to see Stockton in the house, Kevin, and good to see Marco there. And yeah, Rob, you do need that book. And I'll tell you what, we'll have some opportunities to win to win a book. I don't know if it'll be on this show or coming up in short order, but that's absolutely going to be something that is happening in the near future in the money universe. We got Tom is also there you go. Tom had the answer as you were saying it there, and is also apparently somebody who is close to Stockton. That's Northern California Fair fans, I assume we have with us, and the Northern California fairs are going to sort of soften this blow of no Golden Gate, because until the fall, nothing really changes with this Northern California circuit. But then things are going to get interesting. Be very, hopefully it's all going to work out. But big contest implications there, because we have a 21-20 horse, the other Doug O'Neill, beating the favored Doug O'Neill. So as soon as I can figure out, this is the problem. I didn't really mean to produce myself today. I just forgot to ask Craig or AJ. And then at the point that it got so late, I was like, I can probably do it.
Well, speaking of Doug O'Neill, we didn't talk about this, Pete, but it was devastated that Vlahos didn't get to run. I don't know. The pace was so fast. In the
winner was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it would have mattered. It probably saved me a couple dollars that he scratched. I don't know though. I still think that's a very dangerous horse, Vlahos, for Doug O'Neill.
Oh, definitely. Did you hear the story on? Was it a sickness? What was going on there?
No, I didn't hear, and I didn't ask Doug. I was so busy that morning when I saw it. Someone texted me and said, I can't remember what it was. They said, "Don't hold your breath when you look at the scratches." And then I looked and saw that he was.
That was. I know it changed your plan for sure, but Bookham Dano ran so well. I had a nice little run in the middle part of the card, and I didn't do what I so often do, JK, on a big day. On a big day, especially, you have a lot of people around, and sometimes I get obsessed with just making like a big group ticket and taking swings at pick 4, pick 5, pick 6. Had I done that, it would have been a bloody day. I would have lost, enough money to buy a used car kind of a day. And fortunately, I decided instead, because I got a bit squirrely about the big race for whatever reason, and managed to hit some singles and doubles throughout. So I did not win anything huge. But here we go. We've got some people who are sharp enough to come up with that horse, including a couple who are going to be on air today. One of Matt Miller's 3 entries came up with that other horse. I'm playing this year, so we stuck that on there. I actually did a little consulting with one of our In the Money teammates who lives in a non-playing state. She's in Michigan, so she can't compete. But Alex Henry, who's done a great job for us covering the JRA, she said hi in the comments before. We sort of put heads together, and our entry is there in a big tie for first. Oh, great question for Nate, and I don't want to guess it and be wrong, but it was a good number that we raised for Aftercare, and it is once again going to Aftercare. Two different organizations. What did you have to say, JK?
Well, yeah, can you get a small used car with it, or is it just like a nice vacation?
You might be able to get a cheap new car with the money that came through for both of the. I mean, I don't know. I haven't bought a new car in a while. It's less than the last new car we bought. But
there was a guy in a Geo Metro, a new Geo Metro, and I'm not hating on you if you have a Geo Metro. I'm just giving an example of what happened. There was a guy in a Geo Metro, a new one. It had new plates on it, but he cut us off one day. And while I was driving, I made my wife Google how much is a new Geo Metro, and I was shocked when I found out the answer to the cost of a brand new Geo Metro. Pete, do you want to take a crack at it? How much a brand new Geo Metro cost?
$22,000.
Something like that. I mean, I thought they were like, I thought it was like a $12,000 car.
Yeah. What's the answer?
Yeah, it's like 20 something.
Oh, it is.
21.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
New cars have gotten very expensive and hard to find since the pandemic. I think the knock-on effect of the supply chain issues. So yeah, I want to make a guess, but I don't want to be wrong. But you know what? I'm trying to think of how I can find. I have the number somewhere, and I'll dig it up. But okay, let me tell you about. Yeah, I'll tell you about this year's charity plan. So once again, Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance are involved. They are the organization that does the important work of accrediting all of the different aftercare charities. In the past, we've worked with Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation for these shows. We still have a great relationship with TRF, but our main benefactor from TRF, Kim Weir, who is the first sponsor we ever had, basically the day after we left the place with the letters, I happened to be in Saratoga taking a yoga class. Kim Weir was in there. We'd met a couple of times at the Paddock Barn, and she said, "Oh, my husband and I, her husband Bob, and she were listening to the last edition of the show on DRF and heard we were going on our own." And she said to me, "Do you think you'd be interested in a charity sponsorship?" I said, "Would we be interested? Like this is we can I can pay for Christmas. Let's do it." And she's been with us ever since. So now Kim is over at Therapeutic Horses of Saratoga, which is an organization I had the chance to visit last weekend. And JK, I got to tell you, it was fantastic. So basically what it is, not unlike the TRF prison programs, it's a place where horses go for sanctuary. They've had second careers already. They're at a point where they're pasture sound, but they can't be ridden. They can't do like jobs. They use them as therapy animals and let them live out their days. So this place, not unlike TRF, helping humans, helping horses through the Second Chances program, helping humans, helping horses here, with the added benefit that you can sign up and do therapy through the program, but they also have ways just for people to come in and get to spend time with horses. I just did a tour. I haven't done one of the programs yet, but this is another just amazing way to help humans and horses. And we're very excited to be working with them. Glad to hear that. So JK, you're in the comments here. What do you do? Should we share some of this? It looks like you're zipping everywhere.
So I started to make a comment, and then I realized that it was showing up as Breeders' Cup. It's Santa Anita in the money media, and you got to be careful
what you say for them. Yeah.
So I got my phone out. We're all good. No worries. No worries.
Good. There you go. Yes. We had a question from Sheila. Is that a Breyer horse? Yeah, I've got a couple of Breyer horses here. I'll show off my Breyer horses here. Let's see. We've got one of my new ones, Great Cody's Wish, if you can see him. Am I holding that at the right angle where you can actually see him, JK?
Nailed it.
I'm in glare. I'm potentially in glare central here. Where's my other one? Oh, they're up there. I'm going to leave them for now, but we've got. I'll grab them on a break and show. I don't want to leave a totally blank screen, but we have Zenyatta and we have the gold 50th anniversary of Saratoga there as well.
The closest thing to a horse I have is the top of a Blanton's bottle over there.
That counts. That's a horse. That's good.
Yeah.
Are you saving for? Are you going to do the whole stave with the 5 numbers?
I need to, but no, that's probably too expensive. I do have. This is horse racing memorabilia. This is the old betting windows that are no longer with us at Saratoga.
Right. That's so cool. I have to say, I love the Renault. I love the Renault at Saratoga. But if there's one place I don't like, it's when you walk in that dandy bar and you look to the left, because I thought some of that old timey stuff, like the old tote board, which from what I understand was taken away by the old tote company. It's not like it was an aesthetic choice, but I wish that could have been incorporated. It just looks like a generic race book over to the left, but everything else about it is awesome. The openness is great. The new dandy bar is great. The new bathrooms are great. I love it. That's my one little quibble. What do you think?
I'll give them a free pass, Saratoga, because of all the racetracks in this world. Santa Anita's great. Don't get me wrong. Keeneland's great about it too. Saratoga does not mess up tradition. They pretty much keep it pretty good. Even when they built that new 1863, they made it look on the outside like it fits still. So,
yes.
And then now to hear that the tote company took it back makes me feel a lot better about it. But yeah, you're not the only person who's complained about that. But it's great. Like, I think that, like, and I think we'll see it with this new Belmont too. I think that we have to find that happy medium between tradition, but then making people who come to the game that haven't been there before still look at it like a modern game. You almost don't want to be an old timey punchline. It's when you go to when I go to Madison Square Garden, or I go to a sporting venue, I still need there to be some, some piece of modern, right? Like I've been to Cameron a few times with people who know my wife's family's obsessed with Duke basketball. So I've been to Cameron a few times. They're like their scoreboard in the middle. It was horrendous. It ruined the experience. You can't see the replays. It was like an old school TV, and they just updated it. Everything else is still Cameron, but you got to sometimes make some updates, I'm glad they have. Like, and even Keeneland, like the board in the infield. It used to be a nightmare trying to watch a race you can't see it. It was a disaster. And then they fixed it. Churchill, the Jumbotron, that makes that experience so much better watching the Derby with that screen up there. You gotta kind of do some things to make it better.
There are ways to blend tradition with modern technology that can really work. And racing, we're going to actually do one of our Jockey Club podcasts about modern racetrack design, because we have so many great examples now, right? The Churchill Renault. I love the Churchill Renault. That not trophy room. What's it called? Winner's Circle Lounge.
Yeah,
that
Sports Illustrated thing.
Yes,
yeah,
love.
Cool.
And I understand the glass. In an ideal world, you'd be able to not have that latticed glass and be able to like even more purely see the horses in a way where you could like take pictures and stuff. But it's got to be, the horses can't be seeing you from that close, or you're asking for trouble. So I think that was probably smart. But just to be able to be in there and be 6 feet from the Derby horses was incredible.
You want the experience to be like, you want it to be different and dynamic at different places, and you want it to feel different. And, you don't want every racetrack to feel exactly the same. And look, Churchill is tough because it's a weird building in which they have their biggest 2 days. They have to be prepared for 150,000 people. And then the rest of the time, it just feels very, 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 very empty. But they don't have another choice. Like that, they don't have a choice. I think that's what the building has to be like. And so I love every racetrack in this country for its own little things and its own reasons. We all have our little nooks in different places. We can think of it. Gulfstream. I think their suites are so cool. I love the suites there with the little balconies. At Keeneland, the green room and the dining rooms are outstanding. And then obviously Santa Anita's got a million nooks.
And there are sort of co-sponsor today, right? We have an all Santa Anita lineup. There's a pick 6 carryover at Santa Anita. I don't know how, I know you've looked at the races that you're on the show for, which is only like potentially 1 or 2 more, but I don't know if you looked at the Santa Anita carryover at all. That's something we can talk about with people in the comments for sure. And then closing day. So we've got this closing day contest at Santa where I'm sure you can still feed into tomorrow, expressbet.com/tournaments. I'm going to ask you a Santa Anita question next, but I just want to say this out loud to help me remember it as much as anything else, JK. We now have a quorum. We have a good amount of people watching live. We should explain. We got a lot of new people here. Great numbers, 200 entries on Horseplayer Happy Hour. We got a lot of people watching. We need to explain to them what Horseplayer Happy Hour is. But first, since we were just talking about Santa Anita and great places to watch the races, and they're one of our sponsors today, let's talk about your favorite place to watch races at Santa Anita. And I'm going to give you a couple because I know there's one that's like probably a little, it might be she for some of the audience, though. Gosh, if you gamble enough, it's not too she. But give me sort of a low key and then an overall favorite place to watch the races at Santa Anita.
Well, I mean, my favorite place to be is the Eddie Logan Suite. But to be fair, it's not the greatest place to watch a race.
Right.
And I'm not saying. I mean, look, I'm saying it's my favorite place to be when it comes to a racetrack. But it's not because you're at like I guess that would be the 7 furlong pole, right going into the first turn. Only in a 2-turn race do they run by you. And when they're in a 1-turn race, you don't know who's winning. Don't get me wrong, the best place to ever hang out.
Lots of TVs and such, but yeah, you're
I tell you what, an amazing place to watch races is the front runner.
yeah,
You're not outside, but you can see everything. Their suites, the view from their suites are sensational.
Those are phenomenal.
And then just like standing at Clocker's Corner watching a race when they run by you at the 8th pole, very similar to the view or the angle, the perspective that you had from the stretch that we talked about on the previous podcast. But I will say this about Santa Anita. So, I've been going there for a long time, and it's one of my, for the longest time, it was my home track. And I think that I probably passed it with my trips to Saratoga from working now. But and I don't think I've told you this yet, Breeders' Cup, when I was there, it was my in-laws' first time to ever go to Santa Anita. And my wife's father is a huge racing fan. In fact, we found out, and I think it's true, that my wife has been to Saratoga more than I have, because she's been going since she was an infant. And so every summer, she's been more than I have. But he has never been to to Santa Anita. So when we went to the Breeders' Cup one morning, I got to walk him around to all the little nooks, and because I know them all because we've spent so much time there. And he was like, this place really well. I was like, Ron, I've been here a lot. But just to be able to show someone who loves racing all the nooks of Santa Anita, it is a sensational racetrack. It's just so cool for so many different angles and levels, and going to the dungeon. And I don't think they call it the dungeon anymore. But
no, it has a fancy name, but it'll always be the dungeon to me.
Yeah, go to the dungeon. And then just like the grandstand, the suites, and then just even like those, the chandelier room. It's just, I love that place.
Speakeasy. That's a great little nook. Which I think is it invitation only in there? I'm not sure how that works, but boy,
there used to be a code there, but I never knew it. I was always with someone who knew it. I don't know what the code is.
Probably usually Chappie. He would be good at that. Hello to Chappie, who helped us set up this little impromptu partnership for the show. By the way, he was going to be on, but he's got family in town, so we let him off the hook for today. But he does a great job. Did you see that when TQ? Speaking of great places to be at Santa Anita, go down to Quigley's Corner, say hi to TQ, watch all the horses come out. And it's so easy to get back up into the seats. But I was on TQ's show when I was out there for my Santa Anita trip this winter, and TQ got caught in traffic. There was some sort of, I don't remember which highway, but a wreck on the 805 or whatever. And TQ could not make it, so Chappie was forced to pinch hit. And I loved it, because when Chappie and I do video together, as we often do on the joint ventures with In the Money and the Santa Anita YouTube channel, much like this one, but I'm always hosting. But this time I got him to host, and I just sat back and made sarcastic remarks. It was tremendous. I got to see why you like it so much, JK.
The best. It's the best. Look at this. Let's go right here, PTF. How about that?
Oh, I love it. Oh, favorite race ever watched live at Santa Anita was... Give us your answers in the comments. I think I have my venues right. First thing that popped to mind was that Songbird Beholder.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
That was a great race at Santa Anita.
It's a good one.
That might win. What comes for you?
So I'm going to cheat a little. I have like 3. So the time that we went to the top of the hill and watched that race down the hill while we were standing in basically the 1 gate. We were like in the 0 gate. We were in the gate, standing on those things, and they popped away from there when they took us up there. That Amazing. Was one of the most sensational moments of my life. I love that so much.
Do we have that on film? Do we have that on film?
Yeah, I'm like 4 iPhones ago. I have it on a phone somewhere. Okay. I got to just find it. I don't know where it's at.
You never heard of the Cloud? You're young. You're supposed to know about
before. It was so long. It was before the Cloud. And then Bobby's kitten, obviously. Yeah, Bobby's kitten.
That's a famous story. Yep.
And then the one that I would say that I'm the most proud that I saw live because of its relevance was Airgate California Chrome's Classic. When California Chrome looked to be invincible, and freaking the big gray horse rolled down the middle of the track and ran him over. Like that one, I'm very glad I was at that Breeders' Cup.
We've got some great answers from In the Money faithful. Michael Domable, Zenyatta 08, but I think he means 09. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, or I bet that, and I'm sure you weren't there, because that would, given who's on your arm, that had to be one of the most electrifying moments in sports, let alone, You know,
I only saw Zenyatta. Weird enough, I only saw Zenyatta at Del Mar. Well, I only saw her run at Del Mar.
I never saw her run live. Isn't that ridiculous? I've never clapped eyes on Zenyatta in the flesh.
Wow.
It was right before I got into the game, and it was when I was gambling a lot. And so, like, I didn't do that many racing trips. I was sitting in the basement watching baseball, basketball, NFL. I was doing all this other stuff, and I didn't travel to get there.
I have a funny Zenyatta story really quick. So
Tell us.
The first Derby that my best friend Robert Chow and I ever went to, we flew into Nashville. And so we got there on Friday morning. It was Oaks Day, and then we rented a car and we were going to drive over. So it was the Mind That Bird Derby and Rachel Alexandra Oaks. If people remember, Rachel was on the Zenyatta was meant to run on the undercard at Lafayette, but she scratched. We would have missed her because there's a time zone change from Nashville to Churchill. If she would have run and I would have missed her, I would have never forgiven myself.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another good one. Self-serving, but Matt Miller suggests Vino Rosso, who was the key horse in the BC win. I got a photo back here from that day as well. Jackson, who
that wasn't Matt's BC.
Oh, was that Brad? That was Brad, I think. But Matt was a backer. As he details, that's right. He was a backer as he details in his new book, A Better Way of Thinking. Jackson with California Chrome, 2014 Derby. That must have been awesome to be there. Oh, we've got a good one coming up from Jim. A 50 maiden claimer, which completed the first pick 6 you ever hit. That's great. Jim, you should get that win photo and hang it up on your wall. This is a Matt Miller thing too, but that JK I know agrees with. When you have big wins, it's so cool to have souvenirs because, and it's not just like nostalgia, it's what a great mind frame. I get an interesting choice of words. I get in when I look back here and see you can sort of almost see them in the corner there. The ABR Podcast Awards, the Eclipse Award. We've got actually the one, Matt, I'll confess, the Drew Coatney BCBC win photo is there. Photo from the wedding over here. Some Mets memorabilia, a souvenir of my dad. Long on value win photo. When you see these things, it puts you in a winning mindset. And I don't know, maybe you think this sounds flaky or whatever, but I think there's no doubt in my mind that when you get those what's happening in your brain when you get those endorphins and you feel like a winner, you are going to make better decisions than when you're just sitting at your desk with paper in front of you. Flaky or true, JK?
No, absolutely. I have the Santa Anita gift shop. Another shout out to Santa Anita. They long had these pillows that were saddle cloths.
Sure.
They were turned into pillows.
I got one for parent. Yeah.
Yeah. So I bought the number 6 from Santa Anita, which is the saddle cloth that Bobby's kitten wore when he came down the hill. And then I also bought the 10, which people who have heard me tell my story about racing, which Giacomo had the 10, which was the $5 across the board that I had on him that led me to buying 3 books on Amazon that night when I had the 5 across the board on him. So those two numbers, the 6 and the 10, they mean something to me. And so that's I have those pillows. They're I think the 6 is in the other room. And yeah, so.
What were the 3 books and did I write one of them?
No, you didn't. It was Buyer on Speed, betting with the best, the one that the best bets that Brad Free, I think maybe he
that with the best.
That with the best, volume 2, I think was the one that I had, and then Steve Davidowitz betting thoroughbreds in the 21st century.
Bet with the best is a concept that should be stolen and revived. If only we knew anyone out there interested in publishing books about thoroughbred racing.
That was a good one, man. That was a really, really good one. That was I remember I want to think that they covered a maiden special weight to maiden claiming drops was one of the topics in there, and then I want to say they also did the key race. I feel like key race might have been in there.
Maybe Davidowitz. I mean, that was always his thing.
Yeah.
I like the way, and nothing, I mean, the late great Steve Davidowitz, and obviously that key race idea is so important. But I like the way we talk about it on the pods, that ability to go back and try to find live races from figure improvement or decline. Boy, that's paid as many dividends as any angle we've ever talked about on our shows. It's not quite in yet.
I've long begged someone, Timeform, DRF, to do something that rates races by how fast horses run out of them.
Yeah.
To average, if the average horse run, say there's been 14 horses that have run out of a race and their figure improved on an average of 4 points, then you can make the assumption that 15th horse who's running is going to run 4 points faster, And I've always thought that'd be cool. And I've also thought it'd be cool while we're down this rabbit hole for I don't really care that Baffert is 4 for 10 first time blinkers or whatever. I'd like to know how much faster or slower these horses run when they add blinkers.
Yeah.
To me, that's much more valuable than
it is.
They won. It doesn't matter to me.
Let's talk about this race at Santa Anita, and there's really only one question. By the way, did you just see these first bet projected odds? I hadn't seen those before. I wonder. Yeah, are they using? I don't know how I've missed that. Are they doing? Is it an algo like the DRF ones, or I hope it's just the imputed doubles? Because to me, and this is funny, and we love our friends at DRF, but I think it's funny that I feel like, even though the imputed double odds are part of the DRF algo, they're better than the DRF algo for whatever that's worth. I'm curious what this is. We'll ask some of our first friends. I bet somebody like Bailey would know. But the key question for this race: can we beat this? Can we beat this 6-runner, JK?
I mean, I've never been one who wants to cut in line to bet horses off of Chad Brown, especially horses. We did a preview show a little bit earlier. That's a half the Beguine. This is a talented runner that it doesn't seem like Chad could go in the right direction. I thought that a couple of them were interesting. Just to make sure there's no scratches here. I thought the 4 made a little bit of sense from a first time starter standpoint. You get the practical joke. You get a horse who's going to take a lot of money because of some past races that I'm not sure necessarily apply, right? That was last March. Sure, the horse might run off the screen, but I find the 4 to be a little bit more value here.
Okay, 4-1, the price you're getting on that. Let me go back to a view where I can see the comments, folks. Tell us what you are betting on in here. Make us a case for your long shot. We'd love to hear that. Couple more chiming in. Michael mentions another one that he liked in terms of Santa Anita races. Matoli sprint win wasn't certainly an excellent race. Matt liked the way I described the importance of hanging on to those souvenirs from the big winning days. But yeah, what we really want to know is who do you like in this race? So give us a little bit of that. JK made his case. I was having trouble seeing much past the favorite in here. We'll see where that goes.
Before they break away from here, I do want to say congratulations to our friend Frank Miramati on his Belmont Stakes call. He was, I think we all agree that there's 2 people that are on the Mount Rushmore, at least for me, and that's Trevor Didman and Tom Durkin, and then there's everyone else. But man, Frank Miramati and Travis Stone to me really have kind of become the cream of the crop that we have now, and I was happy to see Frank hit a home run the other day.
He did a great job, and it was terrific to see. Getting ready to load. After this race, we are going to go with explain what Horseplayer Happy Hour is, why this is the best deal going, why these people watching us now and on the replay should tune in every week and play. But let's get to Frank.
down. This is a joke. Now gets the upper hand on Thunderball, who's a length and a half behind. Okasik moving in on the top pair, taking second and coming after. This is a joke with a quarter of a mile to go, but this is a joke. Still has something left. This is a joke. Turns for home in charge. Okasik all out trying to close the gap, and then Street Talker in third. There's an eighth of a mile to go. This is a joke. Street Talker on the outside moves into second with Okasik. Those two are battling a 16th out. This is a joke. Street Talker clearly second. This is nothing but a joke. This is a joke. Wins by 3.5. Street Talker second. Okasik third in front of Thunderball.
Can't believe the Cars hunch play on Okasik didn't work out. No, good pick by you, Jonathan. Very nice scoring. I think was 4-1 across the line. Very, very good. Very, very good a pick there by you, and a horse that it's funny. Your detractors say, we never bet an odds on shot he didn't like. I don't. I mean, neither you nor I are afraid to pick favorites, but so often we pick these horses on the show, and we don't go back, and then we don't really red board our picks when we come and do our recap shows. We want to be much more. We're not that arrogant. We're much more focused on giving people information they can use going forward. But since it happened in real time, there, very happy to give you props for that one. Nice pick.
Well, here's the thing about that. Now that you've given me a soapbox to jump right on top of,
don't make me regret this, Jonathan.
Okay, there's like 4 things that come with my the JK only bets chalk thing. Okay, the first one is look at my Breeders' Cup betting challenge successes. The ones where I've gotten 2 in, I got second in. It's favorite. I'm betting these horses, right? Like I bet $40,000 on Monomoy Girl. I'm betting these horses. I was all in with Tarnawa, all in with 2x2 in the Del Mar one. Like, this is what I actually bet. And so my brain sees that. So don't get mad at me that I'm telling you that I think this horse is going to win. Like that's what I bet. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when it comes to TV, like the reason that this FS1, FS2, and Fox thing has worked so well is that we are reaching an audience we're reaching an audience that we don't typically reach. Guys and gals that are sitting in a bar. I can't tell you my random friends from across the world send me pictures while they're sitting in some bar and they looked up and they saw my ugly mug on TV and they think it's funny. Like when people are sitting in bars, they do not need positive EV plays. They don't need the 10-1 shot that you think you need to give, because every day if you're betting and you're betting all these races, you got to bet. Yes, I understand that. We all do. You're not smarter than everyone else. But when the guy is sitting there downloading Naira Bets, or downloading Express Bet, or downloading TwinSpires to get involved, they don't need me giving them a positive EV play. They need to see the ball go through the hoop so they come back tomorrow, and then they can learn. That's why I pick favorites more often than the average bear.
I think it's a good description. And
I'm off the soapbox now.
They're soapbox, ex-soapbox at this point. But yeah, I mean, I take your point. I mean, it's the same thing for me in the UK. I mean, I'll say this. Nothing annoys me more on TV than giving out a heavy favorite that loses. But if I think that's the best bet of the bets presented, that's the bet I'm going to give. And right, I mean, is every bet, if you bet every race, can you possibly have EV in every race? Of course not. And, as a pundit on TV, you have to give a pick every race. That's the job. So I will say this. I think I try to make a difference between if I'm having I will try to say, if I'm betting this race, I'm betting this horse, as opposed to this favorite should really be half the price and is one of my bets of the day. I do try to make that distinction in my commentary. But yeah, I probably pick as many favorites as you in aggregate.
The producers on our show, I want to be fair, are awesome. If I tell them, if it's a Naira race, they want us to give a pick, so I do that. Whatever, I'll give a pick for every race in Naira, Saratoga, whatever. But if you ever notice that there's a day where maybe I give a ticket, I don't, or if Paul gives a ticket or Tom gives a ticket, we can tell our producers if they want us to give a pick 4 ticket or a pick 5 ticket. I can say yo, T, I hate this sequence. Just let me skip it. They don't ever push back, ever. So I just skip the sequence side because it just sets me up to look like an idiot. You know, if I, you know what I mean? If I don't like the ticket, I'm not going to play it. It can make me look bad. Like,
yeah, to your earlier point, you want to give out things that are somewhat reflective of the way you're going to bet it, and you're not betting caveman tickets at all. So to give out a caveman ticket in the sense of, okay, this would be my all A's, this would be all of these horses would be represented on my ticket. I think that's implicit. But you know, by rote to give out pick 5 tickets is, I mean, you want to talk about EV, that's the way to the poorhouse, really. If you expect, that same guy sitting in the bar, you get him playing pick 5s, he might not cash a ticket for a month. Like, how's he going to come?
And that's the thing. That's the hard part, right? Is like, we know who the EV police are, and specifically one person in general. I had to call that person one time when I found his number on a bathroom stall. And I said, listen,
dark corner of the internet was going to be my guess, but bathroom stall works.
Listen, I cannot, I should, this is how I bet, right? If I'm betting 15, 20, sometimes 100 tickets in a pick 5 sequence. I cannot present that on television. It's not a presentable thing. You can't give on TV 19 pick 5 tickets with A's and B's and C's and presses. Like, you can't, it's not digestible. And the people that are watching the ticket on TV, they're not sophisticated bettors enough anyway. So just give them the caveman ticket so they can have fun for 5 races, and then they can come back and learn. But I can't, I can't teach people how to file upload on, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, it's not possible.
That would be very boring television. And one more comment about your bathroom stall thing. Problem is, nobody ever called that guy for a good time. No,
you know what's funny about that? You know what I love about that the most? Is that most of the people who are listening know who we're talking about. And the person who we're talking about knows we're talking about them. And if, you know, I've always said, Pete, if the shoe fits, maybe put that thing on.
Guy, but I almost said something very offensive. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to tell you what Horseplayer Happy Hour is all about, which is not mocking people that we don't like. We almost never do that. Only when Jonathon is on is there any danger of us doing that. We're a live racing show. We're going to be doing this on Thursdays, but what's really cool about it is this contest. This is you want to talk EV. How about we add $20,000 to the pot and give you 3 ways to win in to the best contest there is, the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. So here's how it works. $20 is the normal price one pays on horsetourneys.com to enter a feeder. And the top finishers feed their way in to a qualifier on Saturday. You can also buy into that same qualifier for $189. Hopefully I'm not losing anybody yet, but it's sort of like satellites and super satellites in poker. You don't want to pay the $10,000 to buy into the BCBC, so you try to win in for $179 on a Saturday. You don't want to pay the $179 on a Saturday. You pay the $20 for us. So this, at its base, functions as a normal qualifier with 2 main differences. One being that the house cut, instead of going to our benefactors, our sponsors over there at horseplayers.com, it goes to the equine Aftercare charities we mentioned before. But the other thing is we've created this interconnected series of contests. Basically, you accrue scores with top 10 finishes throughout the year. I might get this wrong. I think it's the top 7 scores are used. So it's not like you have to, your best chance is to play every week, but it's not like you're at any disadvantage if you have to miss one to go to your cousin's wedding or whatever. Not that your cousin's getting married on a Thursday, but I don't know. I don't judge. Anyway, so the top score person, the winner of the tour, as it were, gets a $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat. But then we have this other wrinkle, because one thing we don't like about, and do not get back on that soapbox, but one thing we don't like about some other tours is in some tours, it almost becomes a tax on the occasional player in favor of the people who play all the time. We wanted there to be some way that someone could participate once and participate in the prize pool. So how we did that is we created these playoffs. And the way these playoffs work is if you finish in the top 2 in any week, you automatically qualify for the playoffs. And then the other top finishers on the tour, including the overall winner, will round that out till we have an 80-person playoff at the end of the season where those 80 compete for a second fully added to the prize pool at no cost to players, Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat. And then we do something really cool with the playoffs too, and cool in my mind anyway. Maybe I don't want to hurt myself patting myself on the back here, JK, but the cut line is a really fun way of doing this. We start off with 80, the top 40 the next week get to advance. Then those 40 go to 20, 20 go to 10, those 10 play at a final table, and that person gets the BCBCC. Also, I should point out that in terms of that feeder into Saturday, top 10% of players make it. So today we have, I think, 200. Top 20 will get to go play to Saturday. So what I'm really trying to say is there's a lot of different ways you can win. We haven't talked too much about this format since you helped invent it, JK, but it hasn't changed much. Are you happy with the way it's evolved and still feeling good with my comment that it's probably the best way to qualify for the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge there is in strict EV terms?
Yeah. I mean, look, I've long said it before, and I'm not shy about it, and it has nothing to do with any personal situation. The Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge is not even close to the best contest betting opportunity that we have in this game. It's an opportunity to have a life-changing score. We saw it with Matt Miller. We saw it with Sean. We saw it with Marshall Graham. We saw two of those people prevent me from having one. And it's just an outstanding. You're getting 14 championship races to bet on. Not even counting just those 14, you also have good races in the undercard as well. And you have pools that you can't bet enough money into to affect the price. You don't have to play that game of getting upside down on a wager or an idea. It's the best possible contest you can play in. And this format allows someone with a very small bankroll to have that opportunity. I understand that there's feeders and people are going to participate in those, but I'm not going to lie and say that those are tough. They're not easy. The ratios in there are tough, and this is the best possible way for someone who is very bankroll restricted, and even those that aren't bankroll restricted, to try to get involved, right? Because you have the way of earning the points to just go ahead and get it outright. You're helping a charity while you're doing it, but then you also have the option of just having that. You can have one day. You only need one day, and it's not even like you don't have to have a crazy day. Just one day. And when you have one of those days, it can lead to you getting into the playoff automatically. Then you just need one more day, and I think that's a great opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm not allowed to play or not, but it's an outstanding opportunity.
You could play. I think you'd be good for this. I mean, assuming it's good with your employer, you'd be good. You'd be good with us.
I am not employed. Let the record show I am not employed.
That's right. Not employed. Your client. Ask your big client, and we'll see. We'll see where it goes. David Priz. No, I learned how to say this name, and it's not Priz. Oh gosh, David, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. We've talked about this.
The Pyres.
I think it's Pyres. Gosh, I had this. What happened is it was a Breeders' Cup where we met. I got this figured out finally, and then 6 months happened more, and my brain has turned to a sieve. But David, correct me on this pronunciation of the name. I like JK's guess. That sounds right. Matt Miller, we're going to talk to him in a minute. He's in second, going runner. James Millar, another one of our in the money faithful in there. Tony Schiavone, can't be the same Tony Schiavone, but maybe he's a relative. People would see me and say, that's not the Pete Fornatale I knew. We'll see if Tony, if you're watching, Anthony, if you're watching, let us know if you're related to the legendary wrestling caller, Holly Spada, David Nielsen, David Browning, our first year's champion. Oh, and look at this, John Gasper, who I had the pleasure of communicating with a lot over Breeders' Cup weekend, though we never actually got ourselves in the same place. With the 3 entries, all loaded for bear there. Great stuff. Chris Littlemore, former other place with the letters champion in there. Mark Henderson, another name. I'm not going to read them all at this point, but we've got. I mean, this is terrific. We've got a bit of a in the money / contest world who's who. Which reminds me, if you're somebody here who isn't familiar with In the Money, I think the biggest endorsement I can give of the content that we create over the years. We did this math recently, JK, and you were included in it. original In the Money. We actually framed it through In the Money Plus, which is our like subscription service, sort of like a Patreon. We use Substack, but it's the same idea, a way to support creators you like. And then we do a little bit of everything that was always free is still free. But then around big days, we do not just around big days, week to week, we add little bits of extra content. And then we do a lot of extra content around the big days. Original In the Money Plus subscribers and contributors have won over $4 million at the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge in just the last 5 years. So, we kind of know we don't like to toot our horn too much because, I think we have a few different corporate mantras. One of them is that self-praise is no praise at all. But
yeah,
we're pretty sharp.
You could probably get to 5 off the goalpost if you use the place with the letters too, right? Because Marshall had a big.
Oh,
Eric Bialik.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right. If we throw that in, the other place with the letters, we're at 5 in the last 7 years, easy. So yeah, it's been kind of forgot that about Marshall. That's pretty good. Some of his finishes, like to do that in both those tournaments, there's not many. Well, here's an idea. I'm going to throw out an idea. We got a lot of people watching. Let me button up what I was going to say, and then I have a new idea. So what I was going to button up to say is, if you're new around here and you like our act at all, we're going to ask you a favor right now. You could be watching this through Santa Anita YouTube, through Breeders' Cup YouTube. We want you to stay doing that. We're not trying to take away from our partners, but open up another tab as we speak. Go to the In the Money Media YouTube channel and please subscribe. We are making this big push to get to 10,000. And as I've explained to others, we were talking before about hardware. My daughter has her eyes on a piece of hardware. It is called a Creator Award. You get it when you get to 10,000 subscribers. Apparently, it's kind of cool, JK. You get a free one, but then you can buy others for members of your team. So we can both have them. Perrin has claimed the original for herself. I'm going to let her have that. But anyway, we could really use your help. Subscribe to the channel. And then we're also at In the Money Media, wherever you get your podcasts. So there you go. Marco asked a question about if we can I'm sorry. I think I just stepped over yours. Oh, there you go. We'll put yours on in a second. Marco asked if you can play around the world. I don't think that you can play on horseplayers.com with a non-USA address, but I'm not sure. So the way to find out, Marco, is go to horseplayers.com and try to register for an account. I do know if you're in Michigan, you're hosed. Alex and I had this experience earlier today, but pretty funny. Let's see what we've got here from Andrew. I have to put this up. Oh, Royal Ascot content. What a great question, Andrew. And the answer is a definitive yes. So it probably won't be live till Saturday, but we're recording tomorrow. We're doing a 10 horses to follow at Ascot. Nick Luck and Vanessa Ryle, along with me here, the guy in the hat. We're going to have that on the YouTube channel. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you'll definitely get that one. We've also got daily podcasts, as I've done in the last several years. We start with a little scene setter. We're going to have Brittany Urton doing the scene setter with me. And then so far, I've booked the first 2 days. We've got Michael Adolphson, who's got a rock and roll opinion when it comes to racing in general, but especially the international stuff. And ask at one of the meetings he points for, and he did a great job with us last year on that. Day 2, my friend, the great Barry Faulkner, who covers American racing now for attheraces.com, as do I from time to time, but also has a great view on the domestic action. He and I will be in person recording that one on Monday. I'm flying to the UK Sunday and going to be going to racing at Windsor on Monday. I'm not going. People keep asking, are you going to be at the sale? How am I going to go to a sale when I can see actual live racing? I got to go to the live racing at Windsor. But those are going to be the first 2 days, and then we'll reach out to other friends. Rishi Prasad has done it for us in the past few years. Hopefully we'll get him. Scott Hazelton, always great. We'll reach out to Scott, and I'm not sure who my 5th guest will be, but we're going to get it. We're going to get it figured out. So daily podcast content, In the Money Media, In the Money Players podcast, wherever you get your pods. And then we're going to have some bonus content too on the plus side. Rob Dove, one of the top 10 pro punters in the UK today, is going to be doing his best bets. And then we'll also have Stephen Bonnick doing previews of all 35 races on inthemoneypodcast.com. So Royal Ascot coverage, hell to the yes. And there'll be some Breeders' Cup winning you're in action there on the Tuesday. I got to remember. I got to bust out the purple. Planning the outfits now, JK. Got to bust out the purple for Tuesday. BC when you're in action. And there'll be some others on the other days. Got to look at the whole schedule. But I think Tuesday's the big day for that. When are we going to get you to ask it? Your wife would love it.
Well, I was going to go last year, but we just happened to get married in Italy. So it was like a hard. It was.
You should have just stayed for the extra 3 weeks.
We were close because we went to London for the Beyonce concert after the wedding, but then we had to get home.
No, I get it.
Yeah, Belmont Steaks was around the corner. Had to get home.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you would have had to miss Belmont if you'd stayed all the way through. Good excuse.
Yeah, it's not a bad one. It's not the worst excuse I've ever had.
Let's see, Jeffrey. Oh, I remember meeting you at the day. He was right in the seats in section R, which we got for Susan and Perrin and Alexis and Cooper. That was great meeting you too, Jeffrey. Seemed like a real proper racing fan out there enjoying it as it was meant to be done. Jeffrey, hopefully you were able to make some money on the day. Yes, Matt, I see you need a link. I was gonna finish with JK and bring you in. It does me no good to steal both of your time. I was just gonna steal one of your times at a time. Did you have any thoughts on it? You just had a winner, JK. Do you want to give what? I mean, it's totally up to you. You're also welcome to hang, but I know you got Austin with you and you're in New York, so I was gonna boot you out in 4 minutes. But if you wanted to give a pick on this race, and if Austin is deep in a book or video game and you want to stick around, you're welcome to do that too.
No, you can boot me, but I will say this on the 5th. I love a horse.
You got the 5th, and is that the first race of the pick 6?
I think it's the second leg.
Oh, beautiful!
It's the second leg. The 3 ice cream, you scream. Now this is there's a couple. I love ice cream.
This is clearly a hunch play for you.
There's a
for years that was in your Twitter bio. You crushing ice cream.
I do like ice cream. Ice cream, you scream. No, there's a stereotypical ran fast as a 2-year-old.
Yep.
Fast number, competitive to what everyone else in here is running now as 3-year-olds. Then you get the 10 to 12 point grow up. I love ice cream, you scream.
I love it. There's one for your pick 6. Any other? Well, since you volunteered it, are you going to build? Are you going to get involved? First of all, you're going to get involved in this pick 6 with our friends at Santa.
There's not too many pick 6s that I'm not trying to get involved in, but I do think it's probably time that this broadcast should be restricted to people who've written a book.
All right, we'll kick you out. You'll get yours someday. Trucking Weasel by Jonathon.
Yeah. On the front like this. Yeah, that'll be good.
You can get that going. All right, JK, we're going to boot you out. Actually, let's wait till Matt gets in the green room.
Okay. Oh, there he is.
Okay, so we're going to boot you out. Godspeed. Say hello to the family, and we'll be talking soon, brother.
I will say this, though. Everybody give Matt a hard time. He bet a lot of money on a favorite to win the Breeders' Cup betting challenge, too, so he's also a chalk-eating weasel. Bye, guys.
We'll talk to you soon, brother. All right, we'll take JK out. Hopefully, we're not going to have him for that many Thursdays just because he's going to be on air, but hopefully we can get him to take the early shift some days. And with that in mind, be able to get him in here. If we'll do a quick little reset. This is Horseplayer Happy Hour, an interconnected series of contests that happens on horseplayers.com. We're going to be streaming live every Thursday from 4 to 6. I'll be here probably all of them, realistically. Maybe the one I'm in Scotland. No, I'll probably do it then too, unless I get beat by dodgy hotel Wi-Fi. But we're going to have a rotating cast of characters coming in. JK will be here when we can have him. We're going to do some pre-tapes with Matt Bernier. There'd be no Horseplayer Happy Hour without our friend Matt Bernier, another one who wanted to keep going, but hey, he's got this TVG gig that keeps him busy. But another person that I'm planning on having on these shows, as much as he'll let me bother him, we'll bring him in now. He's a handicapping champion. He's an author. He's Matt Miller. Matt, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, great to see you. It was just last week, right? But it can't be too soon.
No, we did have fun out in Chicago doing the audio recording for A Better Way of Thinking. I still feel bad. My pipes were not in top form. If you need me to go back and re-record, you just let me know. But I got to read my part. I wrote the foreword, had the great pleasure of writing the foreword for this book. and then also got to read the parts from Drew Coatney and Brad Anderson, both of whom you collaborated with on the other BCBC wins, which means you have an unbelievable thing on your resume. You can claim to be a 3-time BCBC champion. Not too bad. And yet you're still in this game for $20. You'd think it might be small beer to you. Why do you play in these games?
This isn't sucking up. I play for 2 reasons. And it's in the book. I'm a deep believer in treating your friends well and being supportive of friends. And if you told me you were doing anything for $20, 3 entries once a week, and it would be helpful to you, I would support that. Then tell me that the profits or the house cut goes to charity, and it's a complete no-brainer. Look, it is a good deal. So I'm not trying to negate that aspect of it. It's certainly a terrific way to qualify for the BCBC. I'm not trying to sound here like Mr. Big Shot. I'm going either way. So this isn't the contest that I need to go do that. So, right, I'm here to have a good time. These are fun shows, and I'm psyched to now be on this side of the camera. It's cool.
I love it. You've been doing a lot of work lately on podcasts and such. Jeffrey, who I got to meet at Saratoga on Saturday, says he just listened to the new Red Board Rewind with Spencer. It's tops in my queue, Matt. I swear I just haven't had a chance yet. One thing that happened is I left my AirPods in Saratoga. How annoying is that? So I've got to buy some new headphones. Anyway, that's why I haven't listened yet. But Jeffrey has. He shares your frustration with Sierra Leone. I'm sure I will hear that when I listen to the show. I do want to ask you about that quickly, and then we'll talk about this third race at Santa Anita coming up in 3 minutes. What did you and Spencer were talking some trash about Sierra Leone and the inability to run straight?
I wasn't talking trash. I mean, I've been listening to that show for God knows how many years, and I get invited to come on to talk about one of the worst beats of my entire life.
Were you booked beforehand, so you felt like you couldn't back out of it?
No. I mean, it was just, it's fine. I mean, look, there's lessons to be learned from everything, and you don't always win, and that's okay. I think, as a lot of the world knows, Howard Kravitz and I and a whole bunch of others had a big futures bet in the Derby on that horse. Right, we lost $150,000 by that much.
With that amount with that trip, which makes it all the worse.
So just crushing, but okay, at least it wasn't a huge investment. I then get to the Belmont betting challenge. I hit something early. Everything was going exactly according to plan, and it's a specific plan. I had the exact amount of money I wanted to bet on the horse. I was fine with the odds. Right, and he gets me twice with bumper cars, with paddling, and all this other stuff. And now Spencer makes me talk about it. I joked with listeners. Just so you know, for those of you who haven't been on the show, at least he doesn't make you listen to the replay. He just cuts right away. And so thank God I didn't have to listen to that one more time.
That's hilarious. Well, you got a tough act to follow here in Jonathon, who just gave us a winner at Santa Anita. Did you have an opportunity to take a look at these races? I won't put you on the spot if not, but if you looked, we clearly need to hear your thoughts.
Well, I did, and I do have this is unlike me, but I can't help but notice there is a little bit of a baller move going on. I would love you to pull up the leaderboard real quickly.
Let's take a look. We talked about this. If you're talking about yourself, we did talk about this already, but I will.
Sitting in first place, and then I get to come on the show. I'm not going to hit another thing all day. I have what about it, and we will talk about this at some point. These really were quick picks. That's not a joke. All 3 entries were done with randomized picks. The only adjustment I make is if I'm given a 20-1 shot, I switch it to anything else that I see. So it couldn't be more random that I'm sitting in first right now, and the odds.
That's very funny.
Are ridiculous.
So you did not handicap.
I handicapped. I don't believe that handicapping is the best way to win these tournaments.
Very interesting. This is a topic. We're going to pick this up after the race because I can't do this in the 2 minutes.
Understood. I think from a race perspective, I really like the 7. I think I love the race last time, and I see no reason that we can't see something similar. I like the outside post. I'm looking at pretty respectable fractions last time, so I don't think exactly that was the easiest race in the world. I don't know. That would be my pick. The 1's a little scary to me. in terms of, if the 1 leaves, that might be a problem for the 7. But for me, and at 5-2, those odds are fine for me.
Rock solid. Right. This contest, as we were talking before, and I was explaining the rules, top 10% is technically what you're gunning for to move on to the next round. So with that in mind, a 5-2 shot very much in play, no?
Absolutely. And look, we're a little too early in the contest to talk about ridiculous things like hedging or any of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Still very much just about finding winners. But it's funny. I do randomly happen to have that 7 on the one of my 3 entries that's doing well. But and frankly, I like seeing the tick down to 2-1. You know how strongly I view market signal and all that.
Yep.
So the price getting too high starts to scare me away at some point. So,
right, definitely. I mean, some people listening to that are going to be like, "What? That's the opposite of what you're supposed to do? Value is having a bigger price, not a smaller price, but market signal is part of your secret sauce." We're not going to make you give away the whole book at all, obviously, but I will ask you. That's another thing. You've said several things. I need to be making notes because when I'm hosting and producing, I forget to come back to things once in a while. If I do that, if I said, "Oh, we'll get back to that," and I don't, and you want to hear about it, let me know in the comments. But Alex and I were in lockstep with Proof He Rides. I mean, for me, the angle that I really like on Proof He Rides, and this is another one of my sort of greatest hits angles, a horse that gets on the new surface. Now, this horse had run on turf a long time ago, but gets on the back on grass for the first time in a long time and runs not much better, but a couple of points better, runs a new figure top. Very often these horses keep improving because it's something about the surface that has gotten them that's gotten them good. So between that and the speed, and this is just a winning kind. I mean, obviously not the world's soundest horse, a 6-year-old with 11 starts, but 6 wins, and that's pretty cool. Well, let's go to Frank Miramati for the call.
Who's in? Starter, just trying to finish that up.
Oh, we have one that broke through.
Front of the gate open by Cane Road.
I'm going to mute for a minute. Well, let's see. They may just, if it wasn't that bad, maybe they'll just pop it. But usually they back them out here. Not sure what they're going to do.
We'll talk about this at some point, but I just got to bet that.
Proof He Rides is very quick from the outside. Barristan the Bold up close in the early going. Irish Royalty now moves up, and down at the rail, here's Please Focus. So Please Focus has come through on the inside to be a part of the Speed Brigade. Gimme the Loot is right there with him. On the outside, Barristan the Bold, and further out, Proof He Rides. 4 separated by less than 2. Irish Royalty now just behind this group. Cane Creek Road is at the back. 4 lengths covers them. Please Focus narrowly. Barristan the Bold presses, and outside of them, it's Proof He Rides in 3rd. Then Gimme the Loot, Irish Royalty 5th, 3.5 off the lead, and 1.5 lengths more to Cane Creek Road. A contested battle into the far turn. Barristan the Bold on even terms with Please Focus. Proof He Rides on the outside of them, cruising up nicely, and Proof He Rides up to take the lead at the top of the stretch. Proof He Rides, Please Focus fighting on. Gimme the Loot comes through at the rail with a game rally, followed by Irish Royalty and Cane Creek Road.
Battling a bit.
Give me the Loot on the inside of Proof He Rides, and Cane Creek Road is coming smartly in the center of the course. 3 of them
out
together.
Nope.
And it goes to Gimme the Loot by half ahead.
On points
Proof He
anyway.
Rides second, Cane Creek Road finished 3rd.
So you mentioned something interesting before the race. Let's start there. I'm trying to mute it on the wrong screen. This is why the producers earn their money. You mentioned something interesting there about a bet back.
I made a super quick bet at the last second that didn't look like that much of an incident. And I figure, well, they handled it so quickly that I don't really think that making the bet in that spot made a difference. But there are times where you'll see someone break through the gate, and the reaction from the crowd is so overwhelming to cancel.
Yep.
I generally go run to bet the horse. I'm a bit of a contrarian. What can I say?
Clearly, that's amazing. I've never heard that one before.
It just didn't look that bad. So, but as I was then looking a little closer, I couldn't quite tell who it was. So whatever.
Right. That's funny. But no, that's a great idea. Let's go back to the idea of value versus market signal. There's a lot of horse players who see the horse at 2-1 and they say, I'm not going to bet that horse unless it goes to 5-2. What do you think of that sort of orthodoxy?
I think that's great if 5-2 was in your head ahead of time. But if you're just watching the odds bouncing up and down by a half point or a point, I think people tend to give, and I'm guilty of this too at times, just too much credit to minor variances that aren't that big a deal. And so, I mean, really, the difference between getting a winner and a loser is half a point in the odds. I'm not saying to not be disciplined in your approach at the low end of the range. That's a huge percentage. So
right.
And that's actually my game, as you know, is to be playing in that low end of the range and take advantage of those big percentages. But right, we're talking in the context either of cash or in the context of a tournament. And I do think strike rate and value have different meanings depending on which context you're talking about.
Very, very interesting. Well, let's talk about it from the point of view of why you like it. How does that market signal sway you? And the market signal got stronger there because Proof He Rides checked in at 8-5. At one point in that race, looked about 4-5. Just really wasn't able to finish it off. But you don't feel cheated by a horse that gets bet in from 5-2 to 8-5. I mean, if you'd known the horse was going to close at 8-5, there must be a tipping point where it's too much and you don't want the horse anymore, or not? Explain your thought process as far as this market signal business goes.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a tipping point, and that's why I try as hard as I can to remain creative in the way I bet. And so, right, let's take a look at what the win pool was. I'm going to try and pull that up as we're talking.
Yeah, great.
121,000 by what I'm seeing. Okay, from an Arlington guy, that's massive, but in real life, that's not that big. And right. So, that could be one $5,000 better, or one, it could be one person. You have to recognize when you're playing in that pool that you are subjecting yourself to that risk of someone coming in with a big bet and just knocking down your price. I think there are other pools where it feels like that happens with less severity. The double pool, for me, is absolutely where I like to play. I see less of that. I'm not going to call it funny business, but I'll call it frustration business. I see less of that in looking at double probables. You tend not to see these wild swings, or at the last second, prices just getting obliterated and you saying, I wouldn't have done this had I known. And that gets even more extreme as you go out to pick threes and further pick races. But as you know, I don't love those for other reasons. So, right, I mean, getting back to it, the point on market signal, it depends on where it is. So I actually tend to start with the daily double will pays as, right, I heard you talking before I came on about, gosh, I hope that the projected odds are the projected will pay. I couldn't agree more with that. That is such valuable information to me. No offense to the computer programmers. I actually don't care what other stuff they're putting in their algorithm, even if it's better. To me, the value of just having someone compute those odds and just put it right on the screen, fantastic. Great. Fantastic, right? And if you want to say, hey, we have a second algorithm and it's, right. I mean, our weather person in Chicago shows projected snowfall with 2 different models, and it's 2 different numbers, and you can choose which one to believe.
Right.
Show me 2 models, but
that's a good idea. I love that. Well, that's a good description of that. Maybe we should.
Maybe you should
at some point take a look at the upcoming doubles, and let's see if there's something we can do in real time or demonstrate to people in real time here about the kinds of signal you're looking for, and we'll have a bet. It'll be fun. Meanwhile, though, I do want to share a quote from Jim, because this is a really nice one. I don't know Jim personally, but it seems like
he's my burner account. That's a
Cannot express how much I enjoyed the book. Actually doing a second read through, a must read for all those who lament how they never seem to win despite being good handicappers. I mean, that was the idea. That feels really good. What kind words. And Jim just gave me an idea for a contest, Matt, production meeting in the middle of the show. You're enough in the Money family now where you get to do a production meeting in the middle of the show.
Ready.
You look tickled by that. Here's my idea for a contest. And maybe we'll do this and we'll give away the book next week on the show. I want your stories. I don't want a bad beat story. I want a bad betting story. I want to hear your best opinion and how you messed it up.
The worst.
And the one who has the worst story, the person who needs the book the most, will get it. And I'll tell you right now, if the ice cream man enters, you're all running for second.
No chance. Pete,
do you remember?
You know the story in the book about that jackpot pick six.
Yeah, yours is good. But you're ineligible. You wrote the book.
Fine, I won't enter. But and I'm not going to ruin the story here. But for people, just to give you a heads up on this book, this is not 200 and something pages of bragging about being good at stuff.
Au contraire.
It's marveling at how 48 years of mediocrity turned into something better by taking a different thought approach. But I am so cognizant of those 48 years. And I talk about a betting mistake that I'm telling you, if you racked your brains for hours, you couldn't come up with something this stupid.
It was bad. It was bad. Yeah, it was not good. It was the title of the book feels ironic when you hear that story. That was definitely a worse way of thinking. But here's how we're going to do the contest. I'm gonna and we'll put this out in other forms of media as well. But the best way for me to keep track of it is probably email. So hit me up through the contact page over at inthemoneypodcast.com and tell me your bad betting story. And yeah, we'll pick a winner and we'll give away a copy of A Better Way of Thinking. And speaking of A Better Way of Thinking, let's share it right now with you. This is the website with that name. It will also redirect here if you spell better in the traditional way as opposed to the gambling way. Right now, you've got the hardcover and the ebook on sale. And here's a little copy that somebody wrote about the book. Maybe it was me. I honestly don't remember. I went into sort of a fugue state in those few days we were finishing things up here. And but here's the cover. I'm very proud of the job our wonderful design team did. Why don't you give props to the designer? Because this cover, Matt, could not be more you, and it could not look more professional.
Oh yeah, Casey and Nick Dasco. Well, Casey Dasco or Nick. Married name is Corona over at Oak and Air. That's the name of their company. I had a simple, 30-minute conversation talking about the themes in the book, the things that I wanted to see carried into the cover. Right? I'm not revealing too much. I talk about the Matrix quite a bit. Obviously, there's a lot of horse racing stuff. I don't expect you to do this, Pete, but if you really zoom in on the cover, you'll see all sorts of little Easter eggs in the code of the Matrix with cool horse names and stuff like that. And yeah, this designer just crushed it. And okay, look, I'm a novice at this stuff. I didn't really understand when it came to paper choices and gloss versus matte. All I know is when you pick up this book, it's a cool book. It feels good. It's thick. It's a cool cover. And yeah, nice job to Pete, to Frank Scattoni, and to the people over at Ingram Spark. That's who we used for our publishing. It was just a really good team that I think came together to put out a nice product.
While I was trying to enlarge this, I have now completely screwed everything up, and I'm having trouble. Okay, no, I think I still have I still have made the comments so small that no one could possibly read them. So let me try to fix that. But we are going to, we'll be giving away copies of the book this season on Horseplayer Happy Hour when Matt's on. That's the first contest. Tell us your biggest betting mistake inthemoneypodcast.com, go to the contact page. If you get it to me another way, I will try. I'm not saying it's not like rules, like if you don't do that, you're DQ'd, but there's a very good chance I won't remember / see it unless you send it to us over that way. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And the reaction to the book has been terrific. Matt's done a bunch of podcasts. You can catch up on that, but the sales have been extremely steady, ahead of what I would have guessed. And there's a reason. I mean, a lot of people have had the reaction that Jim has had and are reading it multiple times and learning things. And I know I learned a lot. My line about the book that is not just blowing smoke, but completely sincere. The only thing I didn't like about it is it made me a bit depressed to think about how much more money I'd have if I'd read the book 20 years ago than now. And I mean, maybe it's the same for you, Matt, in terms of, what exploits you'd had in this game had you, sort of developed this better way of thinking earlier than you did.
Totally. I think it was a little bit of a surprise. I was not going to do a dedication, and then we threw one in. And I think I even said in the dedication, this is written for the kinds of horse players that I was 10 years ago. Gosh, would this have helped me? So much of this is so simple and so common sense, but it's so hard to see. Again, I'm not giving away too much. The Matrix is on the cover. The concept of the Matrix, what's real, what's perceived, what rules can be bent, which ones are stuck and fixed, and applying that to the way you bet, and looking within yourself to ask why you're doing certain things, and reasons like, because that's how I do it, or I've always done it that way.
Not your favorite answer, huh?
It's the worst. I mean, you should be constantly evolving as a player. And I talk about that quite a bit in the book, going from harness racing to thoroughbreds to pick sixes to tournaments. It's a whole evolution. And I suspect it's just a very relatable story. I don't claim to have been very good at this for very long. And I think a lot of the lessons I learned, I'm so cognizant of them. They feel so recent.
That's great. Mike, thank you for chiming in. Just started the book. Can't wait to continue. We love to hear that. We've got the double to talk about potentially. This is the first race of the Pick Six. I'm sure they're going to drag a little. Our friends don't do that like they used to, but I think we'll probably make this our last race because with as much as they're going to drag this, I say 4 to 6. It's a general window. We'll go through this race. We'll come back. We'll give a leaderboard update. But since there is a Pick Six carryover closing weekend at Santa Anita, put in a plug again for the closing weekend contest. expressbet.com/tournaments is the place to check that out. And we'll want you to get involved and hopefully have a nice success story for us as far as that goes. But this Pick Six is obviously on everybody's mind right now. We have a heavy favorite in the form of the 7-runner, Matt. How much of this Pick Six did you look at? I know you're not a day in, day out. You're not a guy who plays every carryover. You're not a big Pick Six player, and you get into the reasons in the book. And I don't want to sort of give away the secret sauce as far as that goes. But what are the circumstances under which you will play a Pick Six? And if somebody was asking you for advice on how to play this one, what would you tell them?
The circumstances I would get involved would be if you said, hey, I've got a ticket, you want a partner? Mm-hmm. If I got a text from Drew or Howard and they said the same thing, Brad too, there are no other circumstances. I guess
you would never spearhead one I know you're a big believer in group tickets, but you wouldn't spearhead one. Why not?
If I loved, I looked at the races today. If I loved 2 or 3 horses, I'd single them and I would just spread and pound away in the others. And I would use it as an expensive means of playing my couple of horses. I don't any longer believe in playing the bets to hit the bets. Mm-hmm. It's for me about what the underlying plays are. The only thing I'd say in terms of value for this Pick Six, the Baffert who's the horse? I think it's a Baffert horse coming up. The 3 to 5 shot in the 6th race.
In the 6th race.
Right. I mean, I can just tell you, danger. That horse is going to be 1-9 in the pick 6. And so to me, that's the kind of horse that in a way ruins a sequence, because you either have to skinny way up and pound away, because that's the kind of horse that wins, and people who spread too much end up losing money despite hitting the pick 6. And so I think that horse, it's funny. I think a lot of people looked at that and felt a sense of relief, like, oh, thank gosh.
Free square is the term you hear.
Right. And to me, it's kind of the opposite. It's a price crusher. You're still taking some risk on the race. You're getting paid nothing for having that horse. And so it's the kind of horse that makes me really look hard somewhere else. And so, frankly, if you forced me to play my own ticket right now, I'm probably singling the 8. Maybe I would play a saver ticket using the 7 as well, but these would not be large dollars. That would be a very low confidence play. Right. For me, I just try as hard as I can to look at the full arsenal of wagering opportunities and pick exactly the ones that I like. So I do want to get back to something on the daily double, by the way.
Great. Yeah, because we do have this odds on in here to look at. Let's just talk about this Noonie for 2 seconds, just because I have the PP pulled up in front of me. Very interesting to see a $1.8 million baby from a first-year sire, right? Wins are brand new. So you don't have a lot in the way of data with this one. I think it's 0 for 4. There was one sibling who did win first out and won impressively. So I mean, yeah, you're definitely, this horse is she's obviously supposed to win, but some of her value is tied up in a residual value as a broodmare, being that she's a filly. I mean, I don't have a proper workout report in front of me. She looks fast as heck, but I mean, I take your point. There's a ton of unknowns when you're looking at a runner like that. We'll get back to the pick 6 in a minute, but what point did you want to make about the double?
So it's interesting, and maybe this is the first nugget I'll provide people into the way I think that's a little different than the way others do. And it's so obvious. So I'm not claiming this is brilliance. I don't need any nasty comments saying this is your bright idea.
The Horseplayer Happy Hour audience is very friendly. This isn't Twitter.
But at the same time, I'm willing to bet a fair amount of money that most of you don't do this. So, okay, I'm on my ADW right now, and I'm looking at the current race, and I see what the will pays are in the double. And, okay, look, if I really want to expand my information, I could look at the will pays in the pick 3. And by the way, what I'm seeing at just high level on the pick 3 is I'm seeing the 7 as a pretty dominant favorite, but the 4 and the 5 aren't that far behind.
Interesting.
But
read us the numbers if you don't mind.
Say it again.
Tell us the specific numbers. I want to know what that means in your range.
Sure. So in the pick 3, I'm seeing the 7 pay $74.
Okay.
And the 4 and the 5 pay $133 and $110. So it's not even double. So
that's a lot closer than the difference between 4 to 5 and 9 to 2 and 5 to 1.
Big time. And when you look at the double will pays, I'm about to get to the point I was going to make.
No, this is great.
$27 with the 7, 47 and 55 with the 4 and the 5. So about double. So I would say in the double, the 7 got that heavier. Here's the thing I like to do, though. And again, this is just one of those moments that people should be asking why they haven't done this before. The 2 won the last race. It paid $13 to win. It wasn't the favorite. And I don't know how much money it was devoted to that horse in the double pool. And so why would you limit the data you're looking at to just the will pays with the 2?
Right.
Wouldn't you go back to race 3, look at the probables, which are now final, and you can see what the doubles paid with all the other horses, not just with the 2.
Well, that's smart.
So I haven't done this. We're doing this live. I'm now looking. And what I'm seeing here, relatively consistent. So I'm starting with the 7 because that's obviously the one that got the most attention. And the double with the 7 pays $11. The next highest is with the 5 at 23, and then with the 4 at 29. I'm seeing no other surprises. It's not like someone else just suddenly got a lot of money. That's one of the things that often pops up when you look at a screen like this. But right, as I'm looking at the others, this is basically confirming my sense of what I saw before. So I wouldn't be spending that much more time looking at it. But there's plenty of times, especially if a long shot wins, it really helps to go back, look at the probables, and I think the data is way better with the favorite or the second favorite than with the long shots. And again,
this is great stuff. Yeah, let me underline a little here. So Matt's talking about going back to the previous race, not just looking at the will pay now into at this given, we're focusing sort of on the favorite here in race number 4, who is number 7, Luther Pass. So he's going back to race number 3. Most ADWs, even after the race, will allow you to still see that matrix from, no pun intended, from race 3 to race 4. If you for some reason have an ADW that doesn't, well, maybe get one that does. But other than that, you could screenshot it. You could always screenshot it when they break from the previous race, and then that's market signal there. And Matt is making the very astute point that I think typically it's going to model in a logical way when something at the low end of the odds spectrum, i.e. one of the first 3 choices, wins race 3. That's going to probably give us consistent information into race 4. But there's going to be other times when something a little wonky happens, and then all of a sudden that info, by going back and looking at that probable pool, might give you some signal that isn't there. We've gone way past the 101 here. We're into the 201, maybe approaching the 301 with some of this stuff, but hopefully folks out there are enjoying this kind of information. It's really fantastic. We're getting a lot of nice feedback on it. So specifically, let's talk about the fact that you noted that the 4 and the 5 in this race, who are Demotivate and Cittadino, love that, citizen in Italian, are not that different from the 7 Luther Pass. I'm going to take a wild guess that makes you think they're going to be live and quite possibly better value than the favorite in this spot. True or false?
True. I didn't like either of those horses when handicapping earlier. My pick was the 7. I actually, but as I looked at the race, looked at the 4 and the 5 and felt, my gosh, this is 2 trainers like throwing every change in the world at these horses, trying to make something stick. And, to me, that's usually a negative signal when you see all sorts of changes happening at the same time. And yet, what if it works? So I do see upside to those 2 horses. So those are exactly the kind of horses that I then look to see, is there smart money playing them in the double pool? Because if one of them was getting pounded, for example, it didn't happen, but if it was getting pounded down to the level of the 7, I would be off the 7 in a heartbeat in favor of that one inexplicably getting bet down to the worst price.
That's great. Very well put. Yeah, some of these changes are biological, right? We got the 4 Demotivate as a first-time gelding. I'm guessing that is a correct. Sometimes these gelding reports are unreliable, but I'm guessing that one is correct. And then in the case of Cittadino, he was gelded 2 back, or after the race 2 back, and then claimed out of the last run. So, Cittadino has 5 lengths to find on Luther Pass, but that's pretty interesting. I mean, from a pace point of view, Luther Pass, I guess the biggest problem here for the rest of the competition, this seems like a weaker field than the last 2. 2 back time form had as a closer friend favoring Racetrack, and the pace figures are just faster than these. So I certainly get the favorite, but yeah, the dealing with a couple of unexposed runners against him. Let's see. For me, I'm curious. What would if those are the 3 horses I'm interested in, Matt? Do you have any specific advice on how you'd play this race, either as an individual or maybe going forward into race number 5?
So if you're looking, let's just, for argument's sake, say 7-2, 7-2, and 1-1. Okay, give me 1 second to take a peek at the next race.
Great.
That was hard. That was a tough one. And so, okay, I'm gonna take the easy way out. Let's pin it on Jonathon. So let's take this. We're gonna take his 3-horse like it's gold.
I love it.
I'm not sticking my neck out for any of these other ones. This to me, actually, this race to me screamed pass. Maybe I could have come up with the 6-horse as my.
You're talking about race five now, the Jonathon race.
In race 5, right? And so as you
can we use them both? Can we play the 3 and the 6, or do we have to narrow? Do you think?
I'd prefer to narrow, but we will do both. But it's funny, so you ask me what I think in race 4. My brain immediately looks at race 5. By the way, we just talked about race 6, which has a 3 to 5 shot on the end.
Yep.
If you believe that 3 to 5 shot is a runaway winner, now you've got to pick 3 instead of a daily double.
Love that.
And
is it true that you mentioned the 3 to 5 going to be 1 to 9 in the pick 6? Is it possible that horse provides a little bit more value in a blind situation like this, where not everybody can see what price that horse is going to be? I mean, granted, this horse is a pretty obvious favorite who you're assuming is going to be on most tickets, but in my life experience, and this is anecdotal, I would say that to be able to get alive to a horse like Noonie in the pick 3 is better than the double or the win pool, or even the pick 6.
It's Thursday at Santa Anita. The daily double pool in the last race, if I'm not going to embarrass you and ask you to guess, but I'm telling you it's lower than you think. It was 19 grand.
I was going to guess 12 if you put my feet.
Oh, wow. Fire. Okay. I mean, that's a way lower number than I would have guessed. And so for me, it's more about trying not to bet against myself by betting any particular combo and any particular pool too hard. So especially, I do like Noonie in that 3rd race of the sequence. And so, right, I could see playing a pick 3 instead of the double just as a means of getting more money essentially into the double, right? Just in a creative way by taking it through the pick 3 pool if you have a free square on the end.
How would you do it in terms of amounts with those, with the 3 horses we talked about here, the 4, 5, and the 7? I mean, with a pick 3, are you more likely to caveman it essentially, or are you more likely to pick different amounts to bet 4, 3, 5? I wish this would be easier with a graphic, but I'm not going to read all the numbers because it's going to sound like gibberish.
No, it's fine. Look, I don't really believe there is a profitable way consistently to play 2 4-to-1s and a 1-to-1 in the same race. So I think pretty much you need to make a decision.
You want to split the 4 and the 5 here, I assume, or do you want to throw the 1 to? Do you want to throw the stick out, the even money shot?
It's one. So I'd either throw out the 6 to 5 shot, or I'd only play the 6 to 5 shot.
Gotcha.
And at least based on my early handicapping, my early view was to play the 1-to-1 shot. That was my value line, 1-to-1. So I'm not freaked out by that. And I'm not seeing anything in the betting action that's scaring me that badly. I'd probably stick with the 7 here. And so if I am sticking with the 7, just for argument's sake, looking at the doubles, who did we like in that? Oh, Jonathon picked the 3, and I kind of had the 6. So the 7-3 and the 7-6 are paying. All right, I'm going to quote these for $1 to keep it more understandable. 8 and 7.5. By the way, those are both paying the same. Interesting, because they're not the same odds. Actually, they are same odds morning line. Looking at the 5, I mean, the horses taking money are the ones you think are taking money. So the bottom line is, if you like your combo of 7-3, that's a fine one to play in the double. I think you're getting adequate value there as you look at the imputed odds and getting paid 8-to-1 on a double that starts with a 1-to-1 shot and has what's likely to be a 2-to-1 shot. This is one of my overlay specials. This I have a feeling is pay a lot better in the double than if you just manually bet the 2 win bets back to back.
Would you consider doing both the double and the pick 3? And if so, how would you allocate amounts on that?
in this case, equally. And I would absolutely do that. So for me, let's just pick round numbers. If I'm going to bet $500 this race, I'd have a $250 double, and I'd have a $250 straight pick 3.
That's excellent.
The other alternative is if you say, look, I just don't like 1-to-1 shots. I like the upside to this 4 and 5. Well, heck, I mean, let's start with the exacta pool: 4-5 over 4-5-7. Or maybe you're throwing out the 7, but those exactas are paying 20-1. If you look in the double pool with the 4 and the 5, to those same horses, geez, you're getting 30. You're getting 17-1 and 20-1. And so I could look at either play as a respectable one. You go with the 4 or the 5, you go with the 7. It's too spready to do all 3, in my opinion. Maybe if you did a pick 6 for cheap and just, maybe you can take care of the 7 with singling him on a pick 6 for cheap. But that's more action betting than value betting, in my opinion.
No, that makes sense. And if you were to use the 4 and the 5, would you be much more inclined to use the 3 and the 6 in the middle leg, or not so much?
Yeah, that's because if my opinion, well, I should back up. What's my opinion? What's our opinion? And if the opinion in the double really is vulnerable favorite, let's hit the 2 logicals who are both creeping down in the odds, if you notice. Right, I might be switching right now to say, all right, let's play the 4 and the 5, but I don't love someone in the next race enough to just be singled there, especially as you're looking at the probables. They were pretty generous, in my opinion, and so I suppose you can only pick one, and then just plan to, if you happen to hit here, you can just bet the other to win, and therefore not expose all the money. But I think, again, these strike me as likely overlays, and so, especially as these horses are creeping down to 3-1 and 7-2. Yeah, I mean, these doubles are paying. They're coming down a teeny bit: 16-1, 17-1, and 20-1. I mean, that's pretty solid to me. So it's a nice alternative to a 1-to-1 shot. If you're going to take the 1-to-1 shot, hit it. There's no, I wouldn't be doing much spreading in the next race. That's for sure.
No, it makes all the sense in the world. I love hearing this this thought process. Oh yeah, I should have plugged this from Mike, that we did have some In the Money Plus content happening today for Santa Anita. It's a perfect example. You got to rush if you want to check it out at this point. I probably should have shared some of this, Mike. Glad to have him watching. He does such a great job on the In the Money Plus side. Justin Christine, one of our other In the Money regulars on both the free and plus sides. But yeah, we try to do extra coverage of things like a carryover on a Thursday, or we'll do something extra for the contest day on Sunday. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/plus, the place to go and check that out. Jim chimes in and says, I think Matt's point is that opportunities cannot be forced. More important to recognize them than act, and then act decisively. That's a great point. I love the way you do that, Jim. Yeah, comment on that, Matt.
Do not project, you don't say, well, in the last race, a long shot's going to win. Like, that's just not how it works. You can't project that stuff. So, look, one last point, which is going to be of no help to anybody at this point. I do think in the pick 6, where people are dying for singles, if I'm structuring a ticket this very second, I'm including the 1, 4, and 5 only. I do think this 7 is a great bet against in the pick 6.
Interesting.
And frankly, at 1-to-1, you could probably bet to win what you bet on the pick 6. Hedge yourself that way, so that if you do get knocked out in the first race by a 1-to-1 shot, it's like nothing happened.
Well, that's very interesting. A key in the double, a bet against in the pick 6, but then maybe one to hedge with. I mean, these are the kind of betting ideas that are all over A Better Way of Thinking. Check it out, abetterwayofThinking.com. And if you want to win a free copy, give us your story of a really bad bet you made, preferably off of a good handicapping opinion. InTheMoneyPodcast.com, the contact page there. We'll send that straight to my email. Next week, we'll give away a copy of A Better Way of Thinking. We're off at Santa Anita. Let's see how it plays out. Here is Frank Miramati with the call.
Sprints up. Luther Pass is up and on the pace too. As they move into the first turn, Citadino is also not far behind, only 2 lengths off the leader, and that leader is Luther Pass, who's narrowly in front, pressed by Striking Thunder alongside second. Then it's Topper's Wager, followed by Citadino, racing in
Mine's
between
Italian. I'm
horses
not sure about the
and
Citadino.
3.5 lengths off the pace.
Citadino.
Here's Demotivate, making a 4-wide bid. He races on the outside of Ringtone, who's currently a joint third. Behind this group comes Brainiac. Speed of the Nile is next, and it's another 4 to Dapitan Star. They're coming to the half-mile pole, and it's busy on the front end. It's Luther Pass just in front, but Demotivate is coming right after him, and a neck away second, less than a half-mile to travel. Topper's Wager reclaims third on the inside of Striking Thunder with Ringtone outside of them. Citadino, Brainiac, a gap of 6 to Speed of the Nile, who's well clear of Dapitan Star. They're moving around the far turn. Demotivate and Luther Pass. Demotivate just in front. Here's Citadino now, and Citadino looming large. Here's Citadino
looming boldly, one
on
might
the
say.
outside, coming after these embattled leaders as the field turns for home. Demotivate, Citadino on the outside, Luther Pass at the rail. They're inside the final 1/8 of a mile. Demotivate and Citadino head and head. Demotivate, Citadino, Demotivate won't go away. In fact, Demotivate's a neck in front. Demotivate took all the heat and gets the money. Citadino has to settle for second. Luther Pass, Topper's Wager, Speed of the Mile, a distant 5th.
Wow, I thought for sure Citadino was getting the money there. Not sure if the inside is worth something. Not sure if the horse hung a little bit. But yeah, that's in the end the way that one is going to play out. Is in the favor of that horse. And yeah, I mean, you said it early on when they were 9-2 and 5-1. They weren't going to be that at the end. No matter how you use it, that is valuable information to have.
Right. And if you saw me in a panic at the last second, I keyed in a double wheel. I saw that 5 coming down even further. It finished at 2-1. I keyed in the 4-5 over the 3-6, and I'm now alive to 15-1 and 21-1. Beautiful.
David Piers, the name I messed up before. Pyers was close, but Piers is better. It's definitely not Priz. I don't know where I got that from. Thank you, David. Appreciate you very much. We hear from Drew Coatney. He's an agent in the Matrix, folks. We'll let you. Matt gave away a little bit of the Matrix stuff. There's a lot more in the book. We're saving the full-on Matrix discussion for the book. I'm going to keep you at least 5 more minutes. Maybe we'll go to the hour. We'll see. Especially if people are popping in the comments, we'll do it. There's a lot of you watching, so I'm going to give you at least one more plug to go over. Again, we're not saying watch this on the In the Money Media channel on YouTube. We want you to watch through our partners if that's where you're coming from. But we do want you to open a separate tab and subscribe, because we're trying hard to get to those 10,000 subscribers. I did have a couple of notes of things I didn't get to, and I also want to reset one more time with everybody here. Weekly show that we do, Horseplayer Happy Hour. It's also an interconnected series of contests. $20 to play. Horseplayers.com is the website. You can play up to 3 entries every week. The house cut goes to charity, and you have 3 ways to win a $10,000 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seed. And 2 of them come at no cost to players. Those are the 2 that are the interconnected contest throughout the year. Basically, you can be the overall tour winner, or you can qualify for our playoffs with top finishes throughout the season, or just any top 2 finish at any point. Only have to play 1 week potentially to participate in this prize pool and have a chance to win this Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge seat. So yeah, horseplayers.com is the place to go for that. Matt, you talked a little bit about your approach, and you said something about quick picks, and you said something else wonderfully contrarian about how you feel like handicapping isn't going to help you necessarily in this format. Certainly not mainstream ideas. You do share this in the book, but hey, we're all among friends here. This is an audience, and we're trying to get people. We want to make people play every week, even if I should mention, it's a pick and pray format. So you don't have to sit. We love it if you sit here and watch our live stream every week while it's going on, but you also have the opportunity to just put in your picks, set it, and forget it. We want everybody watching to play next week. God, that would be something if we got 2,000 entries. I was happy with the 200 this week, but we want these people to play. Tell them how you do it.
Yeah. Look, for purposes of this discussion, I'd rather the title of my book be a different way of thinking than a better way of thinking. Because I'm not sure what I have
doesn't have the same ring. Your editor does not approve.
Well, but I'm not sure what I'm about to say is better. It's
no, I know exactly what you mean, and you're 100% right. But continue.
I think the key to a tournament like this actually is different. Again, Pete, don't yell at me. I'm giving away a couple of key words from the book. Right, I coined it. I'm not so proud of it. I don't know the words don't mean that much in and of themselves. Unclaimed space. What I'm looking for in a tournament like this is to find some combination of picks that is different than what everyone else is going to do. If someone were to just take all the favorites, if someone were to just take the 3 top jockeys, you're going to have such commonality with all the other entrants in this competition that it's going to come down to pennies and really meaningless variances that might get you towards the top. But at the end of the day, it's going to be very hard to distinguish yourself. I know it sounds nuts. I made it 1 round shy of the final table last year playing quick picks, right? So
you have to define that.
I know you hate the word.
Yeah.
You are allowed to choose random picks when you make your picks. And the only thing I do is a slight adjustment. If I'm assigned a 20 to 1 shot, I'll just pick something lower. I won't just stick automatically. But even if they assign me the same horse in all 3 of my entries, I don't care. I don't think it matters that much. It's random is the point. And I made it 1 round shy of the final table last year, purely on quick picks. I know that's offensive. I'm sorry. There are people doing very good, solid handicapping that are achieving their scores in the right way, right? In the smart way. I'm not belittling any of that, but I am challenging those people to say, are you doing enough to distinguish yourself? You know, there are plenty of people that play these things and just say, I'm going to take 5 to 6 to 1 shots in every race. Well, guess what? If 5 and 6 to 1 shots win, in a format like this, where the top 20 move on, that's actually fine, right? And that's why I was able to do so well last year in this. But when it came down to it, and then you really needed, you know, with a small number of people and it's only the top spots, I did confess to my friends last year that if I made the final table, I was going to open the past performances and actually do this the right way. Because at that point, in my opinion, it would just been excessive risk taking and unnecessary risk taking, trying to distinguish myself that way.
When you're 1 in 10, you don't need to differentiate in the same way, and it's just different. The risk reward equation is completely different at that point. Those tickets. I mean, you know, those final table seats are worth $1,000.
Yes.
What you're going to do on a $20 one is very different than a $1,000 one.
Absolutely. And so, you know, there's lots of ways to do this. You see some really astute players that will play in a week 3 identical sets of picks, right? You might wonder, what the heck are they doing? Well, they're building up points. And instead of spreading around trying to hit one thing, they're just willing to say, if I have my day, I have my day. And I really want it to be my day. And it's going to be 3 times my day. Okay, that's an approach. That's not the one that I took this time. I've actually done that in the past. So I get into this in the book. I explore all sorts of different ways to look at things, but there are some that I do consider almost objectively wrong. Again, when you're in a tournament like this where it's the top 20, I don't want to be so harsh in the application of my rules or my thoughts, because that's a pretty generous structure where lots of people make it. But when you're really playing in tight competition, where it's just that top 1 or top 2 spots, you really, in my opinion, have to get pretty creative. We saw the person a few years ago and laughed at him that took all 4s.
Kevin Kilroy, he's on the He's on
Brilliant.
the Churchill Downs simulcast show now. He did something right. I don't think that was in when they interviewed him for the gig. I don't think he said I'm the all the fours guy though.
He should have, because to me, that's being the quick picks guy. I mean, that's just saying I'm going to do something different than everyone else, and we'll see if it works out. And but I will. Speaking to what I think is potentially objectively wrong, taking a public handicapper's picks and just entering them into a tournament like this. Look, you're at risk if again, the top 20 pay here. If you're in one where it's just the top 1 or 2, your strategy would need to be that you were the only person using that public handicapper's picks. Otherwise, you're going to be tied with the other people who had the same brilliant idea. So at the end of the day, you've got to do something to distinguish yourself. I can have fun for $20 3 times a week for charity. I can have fun hitting quick picks and actually be reasonably successful. I wouldn't be doing that if the format didn't pay to the top 20. That's a little crazy to me. But for this format, it actually works pretty well. And so I would just encourage people, try to think differently. Try and think what other people are likely doing. And picking the other Chad is probably going to be a really popular strategy in this.
Right.
Don't do that. Right? You'll just don't. And some weeks the other Chad will win, and in the weeks that the other Chad doesn't, you have a huge advantage. The other way to think about this is, this isn't the kind of thing you need to win every week. So come up with a strategy. Like if you could just every 3 weeks pop in one of these things, nice job. And so come up with a strategy that isn't necessarily perfectly consistent every week, right? Maybe it just pops every 3, and that's kind of what I'm doing with my quick picks. And I'm just hoping for variance amongst the 3. The worst thing I could see at the end of the day is $40, $40, $40. Right. I'm hoping to see 120, 0, and 0. Wouldn't that be a fluke luck?
That's better. That's better. The great thing about the quick picks is it is emulatable because by its very nature, it's random. Yep. So if you are somebody who wants to support us one week and doesn't have time to handicap, feel free. I don't think Matt would be offended if you threw that. He'd probably be proud if he saw you up there on the leaderboard at the end.
But I'm not claiming that's smart. It does achieve the goal of differentiating you. And I do think that needs to be the goal here. It's too easy to get caught on the same horses with everybody else. I mean, just look at the board and see the commonality of picks. It's right.
We'll do that now. Why don't we do the board before we get out of here? Actually, that's a good idea. And we've got James Millar in the money right there on the top, 76.40. That is a fun exercise too, to just, with the color coding, it's easy to get some sense. I'm sure there are people modeling this and studying it and seeing, but there's probably something to what you're saying, Matt, about just horses that are going to get sort of overplayed in a tournament based on their morning line or connections and top jockey.
Lasix, right. I mean, everyone's seeing a lot of the same stuff.
David Pierce, I finally say it correctly, in second, 62.20. David Harrison, an NHC champion. I'll say the letters now that JK's gone. He's not watching anymore. He's hanging with his family. David Harrison there with 59.40. Thomas Michael Abenanti in fourth place, tied with Anthony Spinazzola. We've got a lot of Italians here today. I love to see this. Mark Stovall, I'm going to guess on that pronunciation. Holly Spada. We've got good to see Holly's name on there. Holly's been in a bunch of our events. David Browning, the first. I think when the first year we did it officially, there was an unofficial year, those crazy COVID games, but then David was our champion the first year. David Nielsen, Adam Johnson. There you are, Matt, hanging in there tough. You're hoping
not another
sevens are wild the rest of the way. You really, that's amazing. That shows you about randomness. If you were trying to fake what random picks look like, you'd never pick 5 sevens, would you?
I'd probably take them all.
Doing a good job. Richard Meister, Anthony, we're going to say Schiavone. We're going to say like the wrestling fellow as opposed to the proper pronunciation in Italian. John Maslin, Mark Henderson, and then 3 from John Gasper, Chris Littlemore, And then no, so yeah, the NHC well represented here today. Michael Saletta, who's in the comments. Michael said he was reading the book before. Great to hear from you. We can't encourage you enough to come back every week during the season. We run from now through the Breeders' Cup. $20 to play. Horseplayers.com is the place to go. Mike, there you are. Good to see you still in there. We have some excitement over the quick pick idea. It's like jackpot there, Matt. Do you think? What do you're not a lottery player? I'm going to take a wild guess, but I don't know. You always surprise me with this stuff.
No lottery. I mean, look, I talk about action plays and hunch plays in the book, and basically how I think they're unavoidable, and it's almost unhealthy to avoid them with complete discipline. It's just a question of bet sizing and being responsible about how you do that. So, yeah, look, in that respect, I consider for me, this tournament is kind of more like that, where I'll just have some fun with it. But when it comes to serious dollars and serious betting, it's a different approach.
All right, we're out of time. Couple of more housekeeping things. In the Money Media YouTube channel, please subscribe. Lots of great content coming up, including our Ask It 10 to Follow. JK and I have a Monmouth show as well that's going to be getting up there. That reminds me, I got to get that posted. Note to self, don't forget to post the show you just recorded. And wherever you get your podcasts, in the Money Media. You mentioned Unclaimed Space Map before. It might be time for me to get that essay out in the world that I wrote that we almost shoehorned into the book and decided it would be better as a promotional material. A Better Way of Thinking.com. That's the place to go to get the book. For Matt Miller, for Jonathon Kinchen, for Haley and Justin and the entire team at the Breeders' Cup, for our friends over at Horseplayers.com and Santa Anita. This show's been a joint production of Santa Anita, Breeders' Cup, and In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.